I think the Michigan law should definitely be struck down. I think it violates equal protection of the U.S. Constitution. The Supreme Court is going to hear this. They're scheduled to hear it in the fall, and it's to deal with this question, whether or not you can put a ballot initiative that bans affirmative action programs, bans racial or gender preferences on a ballot, allow it to pass, and allow it to basically nullify Supreme Court law that is out there. You have the Gutter decision or policies that a university makes to deal with groups that have been historically discriminated against, to make sure that they're given opportunities to fully participate and take advantage of higher education opportunities. And that's what the issue is here. So this is distinct from Fisher versus the University of Texas, and that's why the U.S. Supreme Court is going to hear this case. Well, what's interesting about this case, if you look at the history, it seems as almost this was an inorganic movement. And what I mean by inorganic is you had one of the architects, one of the big supporters of the California proposition that Heather's referring to, who came on out and started supporting this, mobilized people in the state of Michigan, along with, Jennifer Gratz, the jilted bride, wasn't happy with the U.S. Supreme Court decision she thought she was going to get, who was also a part of this. So it seems somewhat inauthentic. It passed not with the majority that you thought it would have passed with. So it's questionable. The issue here is that the University of Michigan, public institutions that are regulated by state laws, look at the state of Michigan, their constitution. It tells them
what they're saying is education education is blind. We don't know the race, creed, or color of these people.
What's interesting in this case is that they're saying that basically putting this on the ballot basically said that, okay, University of Michigan, okay, state public universities in Michigan, you can't make decisions regarding this because now we've passed this ballot measure. And guess what? Athletes and legacies.
Well, explain that. Explain it.
It's a constitutional amendment. It's an amendment to the Constitution that the public had the right to vote upon, and they did. 58% of the public voted to pass this constitutional amendment.
When you have less than 30% of the population who is minority background.
But just on that level alone, Evangeline, whether you go into deciding whether a candidate's going to be accepted into your school, and you don't know their race, their creed, their color, nothing. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
That's not what this issue is.
That's not my question. What's wrong with that?
The issue is that this is a much more complex analysis that has to be done. There are still groups that are historically discriminated against that do not have the same opportunities.
And the federal protects that versus this that does not. We shall see, ladies. We shall see.